doctor by profession. I studied in Eastern Europe in Poland and I graduated quite a few years ago. Then I came to the UK to complete my specialty training in psychiatry, which I did quite a few years ago. And I've been working in the NHS as a consultant for some time now. Now, in 2017, I think the Lord just shook my bed. When I say shook my bed, I mean some of you might know the expression. Simply give me a wake-up call. He rattled my cage and showed me, is this all there is? Is this all you're going to be doing in life? Is there more that you can do with your life than what you're doing right now? And that gave me I got a wake-up call, and I thought, where do I go from here? Now, many people looking at me at that time would have thought, you've got a successful life, you've got a career going for you, you're not doing too badly financially. What do you need to change? Do you really need to change anything? But what the Lord challenged me on was, to whom much is given? Exactly. You see, we will stand before our Maker one day to give an account of what we have done with our salvation. We are saved by grace, and we will go to heaven. We've escaped judgment, but we will stand before our Maker so that each one of us may be given our reward according to our works. And if you remember the parable of talents, the one that was given 5 multiplied it. He had 10. The one that was given 2. Each person was given according to what? Their ability. So maybe God has given you a lot, and therefore He'll be expecting more. And what I'd like us to do is not just talk about our finances, just the money, but talk about us as well. Because where you are financially is because of a number of decisions that you've made or you failed to make. It's why you're here. So I don't want to just talk about money. Okay. So that's the background. Once the Lord shook my bed, I thought, what do you do next? First thing, you need to learn. You need to learn what you didn't know before. So I started educating myself. I met someone, and the Lord, once you take a decision, the Lord will put someone on your path. That's the key thing. The key thing is to make a decision. When you are passive, you might say, Lord, but where is it? Where is it? You haven't made a decision. Take a decision, and you'll be surprised. The resources will be made available to you. The Lord put someone on my path who said, he looked at me and said, there's so much you can do with your life, And I was quite surprised that somebody could make such a diagnosis of another person and give suggestions. So I said, yes, I'm listening. He said, I teach people how to invest in the stock market, and I can teach you. I said, okay, I'm all ears. He set up a course, I attended, and subsequently I started learning to improve myself, my knowledge, and then I set up the course myself, and I've been teaching people since then. So from that decision, I was able to change something in my life, and I've seen the difference that it makes, empowering people. Since then, I've gone on to other financial assets, to understand other financial assets, because the knowledge can be used in other categories as well. So I've got a question for you. What are your financial dreams? We might not talk about them openly, but each one of us, quietly, there's something that we want, that we pray for, that we pray about, that we haven't received yet. What are yours? I'm not going to go around, but I'm just going to, if we carry on with the next slide, some people, when I've talked to them, they want to go on a holiday, a very exotic holiday. They want to go around the world. Next slide, please. Some want a much better car than what they got. So somebody say, yes. I think many of us can identify with that. Next slide, please. And some want a much better bank balance than what they've got right now. Yes, so you can afford anything you want without having to, any page. Next one. Will you want a house with a pool, Yes. Next slide, please. Or you want everything.
Yeah.
Or you want everything. But how does God see our finances? How will God approach this? Next slide, please. And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that ye always, having all sufficiency in all things, may abound to every good work. Always, all sufficiency, all things, every good work. Those are the key words. You see, God is king. And the Bible says the word of the king is law. He doesn't throw words to the wind. If he says something, he means it. Every word here has been chosen carefully. Always, all sufficiency in all things.
Amen.
So when you are thinking about your financial dreams and your list actually is too short. Because God says all things, having all sufficiency in all things. The way I imagine this is, if I decide that all the children in my village should get education, free education, up to university level, I should be able to sign a check instantly and let it happen. That is what all sufficiency in all things means to me. To be able to change lives without any calculations. You can just do it. You can just do it. I am not there yet. That's what I'm aiming for. That means I'm thinking beyond meeting my needs. I'm thinking beyond paying my bills. Beyond going on a good holiday. That's all good. But that's really thinking small. Think how you can affect someone's life. How you can do all the good things that if you had money, you'd be able to do. Next slide, please. So I'm sure that you've all listened to different sermons or talks about finances. I've listened to many myself. And there are a few things that we often are told to do. Work hard, believe, give, invest, save. These are all valid. These are all true. The question is, why are we still where we are? Why have we not made the progress that we should have made? Next slide, please. So, work hard. What does work hard actually mean? I was watching a documentary movie the other day, and a farmer who had a small piece of land and was, just essentially doing subsistence farming, where whatever you grow ends up just feeding your family, and very often it wasn't enough to feed the family. He didn't have the money to buy a bigger plot of land. All he knew was farming. So he was stuck. What could he do? But this man heard that there was a type of coffee that was extremely expensive, and that if you could just sow a few plants of that coffee, that actually you could do very, very well. So someone who had been growing, I forgot exactly what he was growing, what sort of crops he was growing at that time, he changed over completely and started growing this particular type of coffee. He is stress-free. With the same resource, putting in the hard work, this man now is stress-free. So the question is, you're working hard. Are you working smart?
Mm-hmm.
You are sweating. Nobody can call you a lazy person. But the question is, how much are you getting for the effort that you're putting in? Maybe you need to rethink what you're doing. Save. We often hear about how it's important to save. But did you know that if you don't have a strategy for saving, saving can be very challenging? Because you know how money is. It will make itself wings and it will fly away. As soon as the money enters your pocket, the utility companies, they come for theirs. The different, sometimes you set up these direct debits, you don't think about them until month ending comes, and then you look in your account and everybody's come for their share of your pay. It's gone. How do you save? Saving has to be strategic and requires a lot of discipline. If you don't have a goal in front of you, for example, I'm saving towards a house, buying a house, I'm saving towards this, trust me, that money will go away. If money doesn't have a purpose, it will find itself out of your pocket. It will find a way out of your pocket. So you have to save strategically. We're often told to give, and I believe in giving. I believe in giving. I believe in sacrificial giving. I believe in giving to make someone's life better. But will giving alone make you rich? Sometimes we listen to sermons that make it sound as though giving alone will make you rich. That's why I'm so excited that I was invited to give this talk. When we had a chat with Pastor, and I know the burden on his heart and the direction. It is to empower people to get wealth. Okay? Giving alone won't make you rich, but it is an essential part of what we do as believers. As believers, we must give. Invest. What are you investing in? Are you getting the right returns? Believe. Some people just give and believe. But is your faith realistic? Have you sown that you can actually expect to get a crop? If you haven't sown, you can't expect to reap. So if you want to improve your financial situation, if you want to go from where you are to where you need to be, first thing, conduct a financial health assessment. What's my current situation like? And we're going to look at the areas that you need to tackle. Then set your house in order. I'll explain what I mean by that. Then mind the gap and build on the foundation. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. I want you to take a look at this image here and tell me what's missing or what's wrong with this picture. Yes? Say again.
Everything's just going out.
Good. Good. The Bible passage that comes to mind is, we shall come in one way and and flee many ways. That's what's happening. The money is coming in just one way. Like, have you seen how it's disappearing? I haven't listed all the different ways it can disappear. You know? So this is what's happening to your pocket. This is what's happening to your bank account. It's coming in only one way, but it's fleeing in different directions. Next slide, please. This is what you want. You want other sources of income so that there is balance. Okay? Now, I'm not, naturally inclined towards doing business. I'm not a very entrepreneurial person. That's not my nature. I've had to learn. And some of us are like that. You talk to some friends about an opportunity and they're like, they can think about 2,000 reasons why it wouldn't work. Many people are like that. It's not how they grew up. But I have friends, you tell them an idea, the next day they are setting it up. They're ready to go. So some people are more inclined towards business than others. We all have a natural inclination. God knows that. But remember that if you only think along the lines of just getting an income from a job, it's going to be very difficult to reach the goal that we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. Because it's your employer that determines how much you're going to earn. And they're not going to pay you so much that they go out of business. It must be profitable to them. It can only give you a portion. So if you really want to change your financial situation, something needs to change. By the way, the income base, there has to be more flowing in. Next slide, please. So, as I said, it's not enough to just look at how much money you have. You need to start thinking about, am I in the right job? That might sound really challenging for some of us because we like security. We like to just stay in that comfort zone. We don't like to be pushed. But every successful person has had to ask themselves this question. Am I in the right job? Am I in the right profession? Am I being paid fairly for my services? Maybe you're working hard. Some of you are in organizations where if you step aside, things will collapse because you are that important to the organization, because you work so hard, because you're so conscientious. But are you being paid fairly for your services? What I've realized is that if you're passive about these sort of things, there will be no change. Do you know remember the story of Laban and Jacob? Laban was quite happy for Jacob to be his slave forever. Until Jacob said, when shall I also provide for my family? So that's the question that you need to start asking yourself. You've bought yourself a Mercedes. You've flown your children around the world on holiday. You've put your children in private schools. When shall I also provide for my family? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. They are not, you see, if you're comfortable where you are, God is not going to push you. He's not going to force you. He can only appeal to you. He can only show you maybe there's a better way. But you have to make that decision. Do I have monetizable skills that I'm not using? I didn't realize that I had a range of other skills. The thing about learning a profession like doctor, nursing, etc., is that it can make you very narrow-minded. You think you've got it. This is the profession. And if there's going to be any money coming, you must come through this profession. But there's only so much they're willing to pay a doctor, and there's only so much they're willing to pay a nurse. So if you want more, you're going to have to put in more hours. But there are only 24 hours in a day. So you can't just keep putting in more hours indefinitely. Somebody's going to suffer if you do that. Family is going to suffer. The children won't get to see their parents. So how can we work in such a way that we bring in a lot of income, but we don't destroy our family in the process? We have to think, can I improve my skills and earn more? We live in exceptional times. On the one hand, there's a lot going on, Ukraine war, cost of living prices, etc. And that can easily cloud the picture. But don't allow that to cloud it. The opportunities are incredible. Incredible. You know, back in the day, if you wanted to learn a new skill, you had to walk to the library, go read, ask the librarian if they know something, because obviously you can't read all the books, so you ask the librarian. You ask people. It would take you years before you actually found a place where you can learn a skill. Today, just Google it. Just Google it. And there are platforms that will teach you a new skill. A friend of mine, I invited over a few days, we were talking, and he said, look, a year ago, I found out about something called Scrum. Has anyone heard about Scrum? Yes. Is anyone doing it? Not heard about it. Okay. So someone is doing it. So it's important to network with people, not just talk about spiritual things, but network with people, find out, what are you doing? Tell me about this. She knew nothing about this a year ago. She started learning this a year ago. She's got a job. A job paying her 2 times what she used to earn before. So you can learn a new skill. And the good news is that if you learn it in the right field, you can change your financial situation. So think about, do you need to get a second job? I'm not that of a great fan of a second job because it will take a lot of time. But you can set up a small business, or you can I'll talk about passive income ideas. Next. So we need to do an assessment, and the questions you need to ask yourself. How much do I earn? How do I dispense of my money? How much do I have left over at the end of the month? Am I often in the red? If so, why? Do I have savings? What proportion of my income do I save? Do I have investments? Do I have an emergency fund? This is so important. Have you heard about an emergency fund? You know about it. Okay, it's important. If you don't have one, make sure you have one. Start setting up one. Start building an emergency fund. Some people would say 3 to 6 months worth of emergency fund. Essentially, you not necessarily 3 to 6 months worth of your salary, but 3 to 6 months bills, expenses. Save that amount and don't touch it, so that if there's ever an untoward incident, you have something to fall back on. Then, do you have any debt? We live in a society that is built on debt. A few years ago, when the financial crisis hit the world, 2008, 2009, the banks stopped loaning, and we saw the economy shrinking because people were not borrowing. What does that mean? The economy thrives on borrowing. But the borrower is the lender. So, what is this? Is that the path to prosperity? Taking on more debt. More debt, sorry. Next slide, please. Take a critical look at your bills. These days, most of our expenses go through through our bank account, so it's very easy to just look at your bank statement and ask yourself. Some banks are very good. They can group your outgoings for you, essentials, non-essentials, etc. Ask yourself, how much am I spending on? You'll find out that your necessities, food, and what I call necessary clothing. Because there's necessary clothing and there is something over and above that. Food and necessary clothing, and the bills that you must pay to survive. Electricity, gas, water. Once you've put that aside, those are the essentials. Everything on top of that is optional. It's optional. If you really want to change the trajectory of your finances, in other words, if you want your finances to head in a different direction, you must develop discipline. Without discipline, you won't be able to save. You must decide. Recently I was going through my bank statement, and then what did I find? Direct debit that I set up some time back. And we were still going, and I thought, wait a minute, my circumstances have changed, my needs have changed. I don't need this. You have to do regular reviews of your bank statement, because you'll be surprised that something you said yes to some time back, then you actually changed your mind on, but the money is still going out of your account. Very often, if you go online and try to sign up for something, they'll say, sign up for free. And then, when you click sign on, what happens? Provide your credit card details. It's free. Why do you need my credit card details? Exactly. Why they do that? And they'll tell you, you can cancel within 7 days. If you don't set an alarm on your phone, you'll find out a year later that the money is just gone out of you. And they might increase the direct debit at some point or send you a letter, a vague letter, and you might not remember to do anything about it. So we need to be very disciplined. Next slide, please. So once you have done this assessment, you looked at your statement, ask yourself, have I been wasteful? Money is a resource, When we talk about it more later on, the money is a resource. Every penny that comes into your hand is a resource. And God is giving it to you so that you can use it to do something. But if all you do is just spend it, then you haven't got anything left over to be able to build wealth. Remember, to build wealth, it's about what remains after you spend. It's what remains that's going to make you wealthy. Next slide, please. So I said earlier that there are going to be 4 stages. You will set your house in order. The first thing is plug the hole. If there's a roof, if there's a hole in your roof and your roof is leaking, the first thing you want to do is not get buckets and mops and try to walk on. First, seal that hole, plug that hole so that it stops leaking. If you have gotten yourself into a habit of borrowing, you see, borrowing has become too easy. I hate to take loans. The only loan that I have that I took some time back was to buy a property. But apart from investment, I don't take loans. I hate loans. But a few years ago, I had to take a loan. And I was shocked at how easy it was. I picked up the phone, called them, and I said, I need a loan. So I told them I needed a loan. And they said, fine. And they said, fine. They were happy to give me the loan. We just need to take you through a few questions. And then they started asking the questions. You could have answered the questions anyhow. And when the answers weren't exactly what he wanted, he sort of guided me to answer the questions in such a way that I'll get a loan. Because obviously he was going to get a commission for giving me the loan. This is how the banking system is working. I don't know if it's still working like that.
To do yourself, yeah.
It's so easy. So you get pressed, you get hard pressed for cash. And instead of going back to your bank statements and thinking, wait a minute, is there some savings that I can make here? Can I change my habits? Can I stop doing certain things? No. Instead, you've got a credit card. In fact, these days, they've made it very easy, haven't they? You don't have to phone anybody. It's in your pocket. It's in your wallet already. Just swipe it and pile on the debt. But you can't become wealthy that way. You need to change your habits. Stop living above your means. Stop pursuing other people. You see, somebody's bought himself a nice, shiny car. That's fine. God bless you. God bless him or her for being able to afford that. Your time will come. Okay. Next slide, please. So we need to get rid of these unhelpful attitudes, habits that essentially hold us back. Next slide. So now let's talk about some practical ways in which you can get rid of your debt if you already got some debt. Now, there are very few people in the country right now who don't have any credit card debt at all. Most people do. Now, I was studying some of the ways. As I said, I don't take on credit card debt myself, but I did some research on this to try and see what is the best way to help people. The first thing is stop burying your head in the sand. Stop acting as if there isn't a problem. Second, look at how much you owe. Then look at the interest rate that they're charging you on each loan, each credit card loan. Some are 15%, some are 20%. Some payday loans are much, much, much worse than that. Now, the interest rate determines how much you're going to pay back. So it is important. Never take a debt, never take on debt, never take a loan. But if you ever have to take on a loan, shop around. make sure that you take the one with the lowest interest rate. You can go to moneysavingsexpert.com, moneysavingsexpert.com, and do a financial eligibility assessment. You put a few pieces of information in there, just one page, and they will be able to tell you what sort of credit cards will be available to you, what sort of loans will be available to you, what the terms and conditions are, so that you can make an informed decision about what you're taking on. But if somebody, a few years ago, he just sent me a credit card, I hadn't asked for it, in the post. They said, all you need to do is call us and activate it. I had no discussions with them about the interest rate. So that means it was their interest rate, whatever suited them. If you ever are put in a position where you need to take a loan or credit card, make sure that you are negotiating what's best for you. Have you heard of Dave Ramsey? Somebody said yes. You have, okay. I would highly recommend Dave Ramsey. He's a Christian, and he has helped many people. He's based in the States. The Dave Ramsey show is available on YouTube. They've probably got more material than most YouTube channels because they are practically daily. And people call into this show and they talk about their financial situation, and then he gives them advice, instant advice, what to do. And he also has a system for helping people to get rid of debt. And on his show, people call in who have cleared their debt. 28-year-olds, 23-year-olds who have cleared their debt. They don't have any debt because they've learned the principles. When you watch that show, you'll discover that some of the things I was saying were very lenient. He said, if you've got debt, you have no business going on holiday. Tough. He said, if you've got debt, you eat rice and beans one day, and the next day, what do you eat? Beans and rice. That's to show you that you've got to be very disciplined. And there are youngsters who have done this, youngsters that have their mortgages paid off because they became so disciplined. The show is so good, you can just literally put it on whilst you're driving to work, you can put it on in the background because it's like a radio show. It's got podcast as well. So, you can just listen to it. But what it will do is it will gradually reprogram your thinking. So you might start off thinking that, no, this is not doable, but actually, after a while, you start to change the way you think. And that's what we all need to do. We need to change the way we think. There are two ways of clearing your credit card debt. You can go with the smallest first and get rid of it. There's always that psychological boost from knowing, oh, I got rid of one debt. But the other way that I would actually recommend is to tackle the one with the highest interest rate first, because that one will keep growing and will grow faster. So tackle that one first. Now, what you can do, you can, if say you've got a credit card that's charging you 20% interest rate, and you want to tackle that, one of the first things you can do is you can get another credit card that is lower and transfer it over. So that now you got a debt but at a smaller interest rate. So you can do those, transfer of your balances from one card to another. You can do the same with your loans. But that means you've got to be savvy. You've got to be thinking about the interest rate. Okay. If you are in debt right now and in a difficult situation, you don't know what to do, there's a national debt line that you can call, the Citizens Advice Bureau that you can call. You can approach them. They have an office in Southampton. There's Christians Against Poverty. I know they've helped quite a number of people. It will help you to structure your debt and show you the best way to get rid of it. But don't bury your head in the sand. Get rid of your debt now, because that's the only way you're going to go to the next stage. Next slide, please. So I call the next stage Mind the Gap. And the reason I called it that is because there is a gap between where you are right now and where you need to be. And that gap needs to be filled. That may be because of skills. You don't have the skills. There's a skills gap, knowledge gap. You have to fill that. Next slide, please. Start treating money as a resource. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. So many of us think about money as something that we use just to exchange for goods. It enters my pocket and then I exchange that for goods. But money is more than that. If you think of money as a resource, then you think, if it's a resource, then maybe I can do more with money than just spend it. Next slide, please. And the Bible gives us the clues. When God was leading the Israelites through the wilderness, they came on the edge of the promised land, and Moses started giving them the last instructions, which are found in Deuteronomy. And God made a statement, I don't know the exact passage, but exact verse, but he made a statement that he doesn't expect there to be a poor amongst you. I mean, can you imagine that is the Old Testament? The Lord saying, I don't expect there to be the poor amongst you. However, if there are poor amongst you, these are the instructions for the poor. And we have inherited a better covenant. A better covenant than what they had. And if you've met Jews before, they know what to do with money. Where did they get that knowledge from? Why are they so different from the rest of the world? The difference between a Jew and the rest of the world is the Old Testament, which we have. So what's missing? Why is it that we are not where they are? We haven't taken the things that are written seriously. When God created Adam and Eve, he gave them only 4 instructions. Be fruitful, multiply, subdue, replenish. I find it fascinating because there's so much that the Lord could have written there. He said, pray, sing. Somebody said dance, worship, etc., etc. But he gave them 4. This is about the how that will get you the results. God doesn't want to prescribe your every step in life. Or tomorrow when you wake up in the morning, do A, B, C, and D. He gave you the brain. There's so much that the Lord left out of the commandments that he could have given Adam and Eve, because he knew they will figure it out. They've got brains. I've made them intelligent. And it's the same with us. So there's so much that you and I may be expecting the Lord to spoon feed you, spoon feed us with information. It's not going to happen. It's our job to go and find out. But he's given you a mandate. Whatever you do, be fruitful. What does it mean to be fruitful? What do you think? I'd like to get some responses. What does it mean to be fruitful? Louder, please. Okay, be productive. Good. Anything else? Any other responses?
To invest.
To invest. Okay, you're making it more specific. Okay. What does it mean to be fruitful?
Be of sound mind.
Bear fruit.
Bear fruit. To grow, somebody said. Yes. I simply say get results. Get results. If you're unproductive, you're not getting results. Get results. Whatever you do, get results. Now, how are you going to get results if you don't put in effort? How are you going to get results if you don't have the knowledge? If you don't have the skills? Get results. Next one, he said multiply. What does it mean to multiply? Self-explanatory. Whatever you have, increase. So God is not interested in, that's why I said to you, I said, your financial dreams are still too small for God. God is in this, in the business of increase. You must increase. Next, it says subdue. But when you look in other translations, it says master. Because subdue gives you the impression of maybe doing something by force, overpowering somebody by force. But that's not what it was about. It's about gaining mastery. A little horse. I mean, we watched the Queen's Jubilee, the 70-year Jubilee, and guess what? When she was 6, she started riding her pony. Now, at 6 years old, she was able to do that. But did she do it by overpowering the pony? How did she do it? Practice. She must have been taught how to do it, knowledge. And then she practiced it and she gained mastery. So that that pony obeyed that little girl. If you study money, if you study resources, they will obey you. They will submit to you. But if you don't study them, then it becomes a mystery. It's just something that flows into your bank account and then flows out. But if you learn what money is, there will be a difference. You will see a difference in your life. So master, for me, that is so key. Replenish. What does it mean to replenish?
Other incomes coming.
Okay. What does it mean to replenish?
True. Like if you need something, you need to refill it.
Exactly. Keep it going. Keep it going. So, if I finish this bottle, to refill, to replenish would simply mean refill it. Which means, as far as God was concerned, Adam and Eve were what? Managers of the earth. Their job was what? To manage the earth's resources and to keep the resources going. It's our job to keep our resources going. But that doesn't just apply to the world, it applies to your finances. Applies to any resource in your life. It's your job to keep it going. If you allow it to go to zero, that means you're not doing the job of a manager. If your account is constantly going in the red, it means you are not doing this. To replenish means that make sure that there is a way to ensure that bottle remains full, the account remains full. That means you're going to need other sources of income, as a brother mentioned. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, I mentioned earlier that we live in exceptional times where opportunities abound. Okay. I'm going to go on to talk about how to invest in the stock market, but there are other ideas for how to make money. Young people are making so much money these days on the internet, on YouTube. You know, I met a lady the other day. TikTok, as somebody said, yes. You know, all she does, she's a nurse, but she doesn't just go to work with them. What she does is she teaches people how to pass the nursing exam. And that's enough. She's built a following. People love her channel. The number of food channels on YouTube and TikTok, many of them. Not serving anything fancy. The food you cook in your kitchen. The food you cook in your kitchen. You can get someone else to do a voiceover where you cook, but they provide a commentary. And put the video there. That will bring you passive income. The money will just be flowing in. You don't have to do anything else. put it there. Some people like to write. You can write a blog. Those of you that are on TikTok, I was on TikTok, but I saw it's, you can really eat into your time, so I just deleted the app. But it is fantastic for business. There's so much that you can do on TikTok. It's just incredible. There's a lady who decided to, she cooks just like anybody does, compresses the video into a very short one, and then she puts a voice over a commentary in pidgin English. You won't believe how popular she is. It's incredible. People love it because, another thing I wanted to say is that Africans are very, very, very present, visible on TikTok. It's almost like it was built for. It's incredible. Any channel you go to, any African channel, you find 100,000, 200,000 followers. It's incredible. It's so easy. My sister got on TikTok, and within days, she had already built a huge following. I couldn't believe it, how easy it is. So there are opportunities there. Of course, as a child of God, you're going to decide what is appropriate to put there, what appropriate content to put there. But don't let these opportunities pass you by. Okay. Now, I put there this website, video.com, because they can help you make videos very, very easily. So let's say you don't want a video that shows your face. You want a video, a different kind of video that just showcases the material without showing your face. You can do it there in video.com. You can be, if you want to start to earn money on the side. Have you heard of Upwork.com? No. Have you heard of Fiverr?
Yes.
You've heard of Fiverr. So Upwork is like Fiverr. But the Upwork, you can charge more. Most people tend to charge more. So when I need people to, to edit my work, etc., I go on Upwork. You can charge more. You can make money for your services. You could become a social media admin for somebody. There are people who have 1 million followers, and there are 10,000 comments coming in. They don't have time to read the comments and reply. You're looking for extra money, you can become social media admin for somebody. So there are different ways to start making some money quickly. And then I talked about how you can acquire new skills, and some of the websites you can use are Udemy, Skillshare, SkillsLearn. Okay, now we're going to talk about investing. When you've been disciplined enough to start saving and to be able to save, let me just say that it's not enough to be disciplined with your expenditure. What some people do is they get their salary in the same way that you set out 10% tithe for the Lord, you can say, and then I save 10% or 15%. It's just a principle. You take that out and then you spend what's left. The truth is that you will find a way to squeeze into what's left. If there isn't any discipline, that money will always find a use. But take it out of the account. Okay? Start putting it away. You know about ISA, so I don't need to tell you about ISA's individual savings account that are tax-free. But you can have something called a stocks and shares ISA, which we'll talk about a bit shortly. You can invest in index funds. That's what I teach people to do. So I run a course, Stock Academy, I run a course teaching people how to invest on the stock market. And one of the things I teach people to do is how to invest in index funds. What are index funds? Many years ago, if you wanted to invest on the stock market, the only thing you could do is just go buy stocks. Then the next day, the price goes down. Then you panic. Then you sell. Then you lose the money. And you'd have heard of people that have lost money in the stock market. In index funds, what happens is You set up a direct debit that goes from your account into a fund. And you use the funds to buy a range of stocks. So instead of you investing in maybe 5 or 10 stocks that you have chosen yourself, you might invest in 500 stocks. Why is that important? Because while some stocks are going up, some are going down. If you go and choose yourself, you might end up choosing the ones that are going down. But if you are investing in a basket of stocks, the likelihood is that it will go up. And there is plenty of evidence of how index funds have outperformed other forms of investment year after year. So many people take up a pension plan tied to an index fund. And it is far better than many of the pensions that companies offer their employees. Cryptocurrency. I teach people how to invest in cryptocurrency. When a new technology comes around, often people don't understand it. They mystify it, and then they think, oh, you better be careful. And then the only wise thing you can hear about crypto is be careful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But be careful never made anybody rich. What about? Learn about it. Try to understand it. And if it's not for you, then it's not for you. But make an informed decision about it. And I teach people how to invest in cryptocurrency because the principles from the stocks can be applied. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, why investing in stocks makes sense? We talked about savings. Let's say you've been disciplined enough to set aside 10 or 15% each month, and you've built a pot of savings. But do you know what's happening to that savings each month? The value is shrinking by the day. You've got inflation. So inflation is eating into your savings. I got a letter through the post the other day, my gas supplier saying, your direct debit used to be 100 and something, now it's going to be almost 300. Just like that. I couldn't negotiate with them, there's nothing I could do. Inflation is on the rise. So any cash that you've put aside, its value is shrinking. You need to find a way to invest it. If you know how to set up a business and run a business, fine. But there are many people that feel like, I can't run a business. I don't have the time. I don't have the expertise. But this way, you can start to invest your money. Of course, you have to learn how to do it so that you don't make mistakes. It is far less time consuming to invest in the stock market than it is to run your own business. And by the way, your pension, you got a pension plan, it's already been invested in the stock market for you. Without your knowledge. It's there.
Yeah.
Okay. Next slide, please. This is what has been happening to your money over time. So, in 1860, the value of the pound, and this only goes back to 2013. It's lost its value over time. It's like that with every currency. Next slide. This is the value of gold over time. So whilst cash is going down, gold is going up. Next slide. The stock market, there's something called S&P 500. I talked about 500 stocks. These are the 500 top companies on the US stock market. The index over time, this is what has been happening. So anybody, if you ever hear somebody telling you there's risk on the stock market, yes, there is. But that risk is for people who panic, and they panic because they don't know how to do it. If you know how to do it, you take your time. Have you heard of somebody called Warren Buffett? Yes. So we're currently going through a phase of the stock market where people are panicking. And guess what he's doing? He's buying. He's buying. He's excited. This is the moment he's been waiting for. The moment for people to panic and sell it cheap so he can buy. So that's how any money that leaves your pocket, it goes into somebody's pocket, Any money that leaves your pocket goes to somebody's pocket. So there are opportunities out there, and I have really a burden for people to come to know these opportunities and to make the most of them. Next, we'll be finished. Okay. So briefly, what is the stock market? The stock market is simply, think of it as a marketplace where companies go to offer ownership of the company to the public. So let's say you decide to buy Microsoft shares. What it means is that you become part owner of the company. From that day, you are part owner of the company. And that share that you bought, you can transfer it to someone else, you can gift it out, you can keep it, wait for the price to appreciate, and then sell it. Next. Okay, I think I've covered that already. Next. So I've explained already, is it possible to lose money on the stock market? That is true. Okay? But you can familiarize yourself with the risks and learn the technology of money. Learn how to make money. Next. So I run a course, and the course that I do, I decided that it's much easier to do it on Zoom and Teams, because then there's no movement around. It means that the cost of running the course is much lower, and therefore I can charge less, and therefore more people can access the course. I don't just teach, I don't just give knowledge, because I'm quite interested in people knowing how to do it. So I also have a Telegram group. So if you sign up to a course like that, there will be a Telegram group that I can coach you. So you can do questions there. I found this stock. What do you think about it? They'll respond. So your questions will be answered. There's a training manual that I am developing, which will hopefully be ready for the next batch. Let's go out of the next training. And that will help you to understand things better. If you have any questions, especially about how to invest in the stock market, then that's my email address. Please contact me. I'll be glad to answer your questions. And thank you very much for inviting me, Pastor. Okay, so question time. Do you have any questions at all? Is there anything about what we've said that you don't understand that you'd like to some clarification?
What I'd like to know, can you recommend certain companies that one can actually invest or buy stock from?
Okay.
And a good website to actually trade on?
Okay. To trade on. Okay. So when it comes to trading, you can either choose a UK platform or you can choose a US based one.
Okay.
I use both, but some of them can be expensive to trade on. So there's one that I use in the US called Tastyworks. I use them because they're quite cheap and they don't charge you too much. They're quite responsive. If I have any questions, they respond. I haven't had any problems with them so far, so I use that. In the UK, some time back, you had Trading 212 that became quite popular, but they started to change their terms and conditions, and it became a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
They had hidden costs that they didn't tell people about, hidden charges. And so when I found out, I stopped recommending. But there are quite a number of other platforms, H&L, Hargreaves, Lansdowne. But again, these are all slightly more expensive. I think the cheapest ones I found in the US, to be honest. Webull is another one. Robinhood is another one.
How about Africa?
Say again?
No platform in Africa?
There are platforms in Africa. I would I can email that to you. If you contacted me, I can email you that, yes. Of course, you probably find more in South Africa. There are platforms in Nigeria, because there is a stock market in Nigeria. And it depends. There are people in
but the thing is, like about 2005, I bought huge shares, huge, from different banks. Sometimes 16 naira per share or 20 naira per share. As I speak to you now, it's about 2 naira or 1 naira. So is that business? What kind of investment is that?
Okay, so no, that's a good question, but it boils down to what I said earlier about
Doing the right.
exactly doing the research and doing the right company. There are some companies that I wouldn't touch with a barge pole. Even if you give it to me for free, there are some stocks that just aren't going to do well. But I'm not asking anybody to go and buy shares of a particular company, because the government is very clear on that. You have to be a financial advisor to tell someone, go and buy this particular shares or go and buy that. But there are companies that have a track record. They've been around for 100 years or more. They're not going anywhere. They are the largest companies. So the largest companies can easily be found if you Google something called Dow Jones. So the top 30 largest companies in the world, in America, these companies aren't going anywhere. If you go and study them, you'll discover they are not going to go bankrupt anytime soon. And if you study their chart, the price chart, that is the key thing, showing you how the stock price has been doing over time. You will know which one to buy. You will know which ones you should stay away from. So there are some companies that maybe they seem like they're good. When you look at the chart, it's been going down like this for the past 3 years. Then you went and bought it, thinking that it was going to go in this direction. It actually kept on going down. So there's much to be learned first before we put our money in stocks.
Sorry, just to add to what you just said now. I used to work for a company that built software for London Stock Exchange, and I could see the in and out of how the market works. Sometimes when you want to buy, maybe the best thing is to check the kind of commodity the company deals with. Like you mentioned gold earlier. Any company that is doing something to do with gold, you already know that will most likely will continue to go up. And if you buy shares in such a company, you're probably not going to lose your money at the end of the day.
So it's important to do some research first. I know a lot of people that are very frustrated with the stock market because they said, I put my money in, it was supposed to go up. But that's like, imagine that a guy who doesn't know anything about farming, he got his pension. Actually know someone who did that. He got his pension money, went and bought a piece of land, going into farming, bought all the seeds, sowed it at the wrong time of the year. That's pension gone. Okay? So that there are laws in every area of life. And it's about studying the laws that govern that particular area that you want to invest in.
You mentioned that UK and US is quite expensive. When you mean expensive, what do you mean? How much are we looking at?
Okay,
so to guide into
okay. So Tasty Works, for example, if I buy 100 stocks, if I buy 1,000 stocks, I pay the same fee. And that fee is maybe 10 cents, okay, 15 cents, very cheap. Depending on the stock, but very cheap. Whereas H&L, Hard Use and Lansdowne, will charge you £8, £9. That's a huge difference, isn't it? Yeah. So that's that. There's some platforms that will charge you for buying and charge you for selling.
Yeah.
Okay. This one that I'm talking about doesn't do that. It just charge you for buying. So you honestly don't want to pay more than £1 for buying stocks. You don't want to pay more than £1 for buying stocks. And if they're charging you so much, then go somewhere else. There's so many available. Yeah.
Anything positive about Revolut?
Revolut. So Revolut is essentially a fintech that has cropped up recently. They're a bit like PayPal, but with maybe some added-on services. And these days, they allow people to buy stocks and also, I think, crypto as well. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. So, as the little that I know about Revolut, yes, it's genuine. It's regulated. So I don't have any concerns about Revolut. Yeah. But if you're going to buy cryptocurrency, that's another thing. People are buying cryptocurrency, but they don't really understand how it works. Honestly, you don't need a lot of information to be able to buy crypto. But the information you need is critical. You can easily be duped if you don't know this piece of information. So, make sure that you don't buy cryptocurrency before you know. For example, if you buy cryptocurrency on Revolut or PayPal or those places, it's kept for you in their account. Okay, it's kept for you on their account. But with cryptocurrency, you have to think about how you can get it into your own. It's protected and no one can get access to, because it's a digital asset. In other words, it's not tangible, it's not physical. You can't hide it in your pocket. And if it's sitting on someone's computer and you've paid for it, a bit of a question there. Yes?
On the internet, there's a lot of preference which you can trade your funds.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you think is a good thing to go into?
Give me an example.
So, for example, you can trade for a company where you have like 100 grand to trade for them, and you have to pay some certain percent, like a funding account. Yeah.
Okay. So are you talking about maybe like a mutual fund or an index?
So it's basically forex.
Oh, forex.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I don't do forex, not because there's anything bad with forex, but it is high velocity trade. It moves very fast. It changes all the time. There's a lot of risk involved. If you go on YouTube, you will find videos of people who actually trade forex and who talk about it, and they'll tell you, I can make 10 grand in a day, and then I can lose 30 grand in a day. Both can happen. So if you're the kind of person that wants something that's steady, gradual, with less risk, you want to go and do something like that, because remember, you can earn a lot, but you can lose a lot. I haven't gone into forex for that very reason. Okay. If we've run out of questions, then thank you all. Okay, one final question.
For the training,
Can you say that again?
you charge for
I
training.
do charge for the training, yes. I do charge.
How much?
How much I am going to charge? I think a lot depends on what you're going for. So if you're just interested in just stocks, if you want
Coinbase.
to cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
if it's just a purely cryptocurrency course, I don't have one yet. I tend to link it with the stock trading, but if there was interest here, just for crypto, I can set up one because I can be flexible, and it will just be a few sessions. But I recommend that people do the stock one because I take my time to teach people how to handle money, not just how to make purchases of stocks, how to understand financial assets, how financial assets behave. Because when you have that knowledge and you take it to crypto, it becomes a game changer. So there are people who are just wondering what to do. I bought Cardano or I bought Ethereum, it's gone down, what do I do? Those that did the stock trading course, they don't have those questions because they know what to do. So I feel like it will help you to gain that. But I have a course that will be 12 sessions, and I teach you both how to invest in the stock market and how to buy cryptocurrency. And 12 sessions, and it's just £300. So if you break it down, £25 per session, and
What if you have it for Okay.
yeah, 12 sessions. So, and I think it's an investment towards the future. You can spend that amount if you visit a restaurant a few times, and you'll be gone. You won't come back. But this knowledge you keep used over and over again.
So my other question is, are your strategy based on fundamental, not technical?
Fundamental?
So fundamental analysis,
Yes.
or more technical?
Both. I use both fundamental and technical analysis. Fundamental analysis, for those of you that don't know, simply means you take a company, you study the company, study their bank statement, their financial statements, whether they are making profit or not. We learn all of that. It's not about just, oh, this company looks like a good one. We study their statements so that you can look at it and say, oh, I'm not buying this company. I think they're making losses. This company hasn't even started making profits yet. There's a company like that, it hadn't started making profit yet, and the stock price was just shooting up because everybody was excited about it. Step aside from those investments. Buy the ones that are actually making a profit, and the profit is growing each year. So we learn from that's fundamental analysis. Technical analysis is looking at the charts and looking at the behavior of the investors. Because you know what? The stock market is a market. And when you go to a market, what do? You find buyers and sellers. Now, if you study the behavior of the buyers and sellers, you can pick up the right time to go into the market because you get a bargain. When you go into a market and there are lots of sellers and few buyers, that's a buyer's market. You can dictate the price. But if you go in at a time when lots of people are in a frenzy and want to buy, you have to pay more. So we study technical analysis so that we can know when is the best time to go to the market. Yes.
Do we contact you on the email to join the course, or do you have a website to register?
Just contact me by email. It's cheaper for me that way. I'm building a website, but you have to employ someone to manage it. I don't have the time. I'm applying the principles that I mentioned earlier. I will only add on those expenses when the income justifies it.
Just
What about discounts, please?
You started with getting discount.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You're trying to
What if you have a volume from the church? Yeah, if you have a volume from the church, you can discount.
Well, that's a good that's a good argument. If we had numbers,
Yeah.
yes, I can look into that.
My question is that I'm not used to it, but I'm interested, but I don't know where to start and which one is. So I don't know what you say or advice. Like you're saying that the pension is, you can withdraw the pension, and I'm thinking it. So I'm just thinking, I don't know where to start and where to.
Training. I would say you start with the training. Okay. So as I said, I teach, but I answer questions. And you will get opportunity to ask as many questions as you want, both during the session and on Telegram. And so you can do all questions, all the doubts that you have, you can list them and post them on the group. It will just be a group for this people here, it won't be for everybody. Okay? So you can put questions there and they will be answered. But I suggest you don't take any action until you've learned, until you've got the knowledge.
So it will be okay for them to just put from MFM Southampton.
Yes, yes.
When they send that email, so that you know it's from.
Yes, of course.
That will also help with the head count of how many people are interested.
That's right, yes. You're very keen on the discount.
Yes.
Okay. Is that all? I think the questions are okay. Oh, it will be on Zoom. It will be on Zoom, yes. As I said, it is cheaper that way for everybody, more convenient. There's no moving about, traveling time, etc. And we've run it on Zoom so far, and it's worked. You don't have to show your face on Zoom if you don't want to. You can always, just use audio if that's what you want. But we've used Zoom so far and it's worked.
How long are the sessions?
The sessions, 1.5 hours.
Sorry, what are your students' successful for those who
Well, what is success? I mean, they don't take an exam, so I think the best would be to. I can send you some testimonials, or you can talk to them yourself. They can tell you when we started. People were skeptical. Some people were skeptical. One person said, I did a training in London, I paid a lot of money, then I went into trading and lost a lot of money. I'm now very, very cautious. I'm not quite sure. But after we finished the course and she saw where she was, she saw her mistakes, first and foremost. She saw her mistakes. And she saw she could develop a strategy for herself. That's really what I want people to do. I want you to be able to say, this is the kind of investor I am after the course. And these are the kind of stocks I want to buy. Or maybe I don't want to do stocks at all, even though I've learned it, because I've learned enough to make that decision. Rather than sitting there wondering, there are some opportunities there, but I don't know about them. And you get to know about things, and then you can make an informed decision.
So it's more like building your personality around your trading strategy.
So look at it more as a personal development course, but in the area of finances. You're improving your financial literacy so that you can be more judicious with your spending, be a wise steward who uses the resources that God has given you better. Okay? All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.